Hi everyone, welcome again. My name's James. I'm the CEO for Ronald James Recruitment, specialising in the North East digital and tech sector. Today I am with one of our key clients, a company called Carbon, which is a spin-off from Clicksco. So I'd like to introduce Pete. And Pete has been with Carbon Clicksco for how long now, Pete?
Well, officially we were born in February this year, but working on the project for a couple of years now.
Fantastic, great. So tell us a little bit about the business.
So Carbon is a data management platform. We specialise in profiling audiences and more specifically their intent. So our job is to help businesses with online traffic understand their customers and understand their likelihood to purchase, and therefore be able to make personalisation decisions if you're an advertiser based on that, or if you're a publisher, sell high yield advertising based on understanding the likelihood of that customer to be converting.
Cool. And in terms of the North East market, what's been your biggest challenge so far in terms of hiring?
So, I mean, well, tech generally is tough to hire up here. I mean, we were in that sort of classic example where supply is low, but demand's low as well. So we find we've got a couple of sort of specialist areas. I mean, we're very Azure focused, and that straight away creates some issues. We're also always seeking to try and hire in a diverse manner. That can be quite tough in the Northeast. Lots of talent heads south, but we find actually there are great pockets of talent, but you just have to dig a bit deeper and work that little bit harder, plan a little bit earlier so that we don't find ourselves, stuck with empty desks. So really the challenge, I think, is about planning, not about finding good talent. You can't find good talent tomorrow, but you can certainly find it a week from now. I
think that's a big thing, obviously, when we partnered up, was about talent pooling, engaging with an audience that's passive, because not every candidate's going to be active straight away, getting your brand out there and actually engaging with a target audience for the future as well, not just for now. So in terms of, like, if someone was coming to work here, what would you say the key USP is of why Carbon's different to a lot of other tech companies around the area?
I think we've got two or three. I mean, we're a true data science company, led by folk that have done PhDs in data science, not by developers. And they're a slightly different breed. So when we speak to the data scientists, we can really show true data science practitioner and expertise. When it comes to folk that want to work with big brands, I mean, we're managing a platform that sees 8 million unique customers every day. So we've done that. We grew from 1 million to 8 million in 6 months. So we think we're going to see 1 billion customers next year. So we in terms of the Northeast, we think we'll probably be the biggest data management platform bar none. So we have size, but we also have fun. We're going to do that with a lean, small team. We're on first name terms with everyone, and we work a really flexible week as well. Most of the folk here work 4 days, so sort of slightly longer days, but they get the Friday off. And those folk that don't work a more sort of standard contract, but we make sure that it's a nice place to turn up and really riveting, challenging work.
Yeah, that's, I think, from interviewing a lot of the other guys here, was one of the big things of people joining was the 4-day work week. What was the thought process behind introducing that?
Well, it predates me, actually. I think we understood that there's only so much, sort of free fruit, free breakfast, free fridge full of beer, free pool tables, and we have all those things. But actually, what people want is a bit of a work-life balance. We want people to feel that they can recharge their batteries, they can work times that suit them. So it's a sort of a slightly more tangible benefit and one that stands out. So as I said, it predates me, but it's certainly something we've honoured because we know full well we've got talent here that may not be here if they were doing a 9 to 5 every Monday to Friday and just felt they're part of that rat race. So it just separates us and creates that ethos of work-life balance. Yeah.
And what was your main challenges before you used Ronald James as a service? What was traditionally your recruitment methods and the experience with that, Pete?
We had a few. I mean, I think our challenge, we talked a little bit earlier on about planning. So the first thing we didn't really do is we weren't particularly good at having a bench. And I think working with you guys has enabled us to start thinking about the kind of talent we will need in the coming quarters, and that's helped. We also didn't really have local representation. We worked with a sort of slightly different firm, not headquartered here, and that presented just operational challenges for us. They were in a different time zone, different country, but also I think the niche or the specialism was probably missing. Whereas we know when you tell us that you've potentially got a good candidate, that you probably have got a good candidate because you know what we need, but you also know what the sector's looking for as well.
Yeah. And in terms of Carbon's growth areas over 2019, 2020, can you tell the audience a little bit about what you guys are working on behind the scenes and what the growth plans are?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I mentioned we want to be a platform that's looking at 1 billion customers over the year, which is not insignificant. So we've got challenges around scale, and that's building a cloud-based app that isn't going to fall down when we put 1 billion customers through it. Those 1 billion customers will generate about 20 billion data points. So we need a team that can make sure that happens 24 hours a day and be accessed whenever we need it. We need a front-end team that can make sure that it's easy to interrogate that data. And then there's all sorts of sort of support processes around that. So we've got, like a lot of tech businesses, a pretty traditional challenge, great front end, but also a huge challenge around building the engine so that that front end actually interrogates massive data sets.
And in terms of the culture that you're trying to create at Carbon, being here for most of the day to day and a few times when I've visited in the past, it seems very relaxed, very family friendly. So what are the key metrics in terms of measuring your culture, and what are you trying to instill in the business moving forward as you expand? Yeah,
well, we've done 2 or 3 things quite specifically around that in the last couple of quarters. So I took full control of the business unit at the beginning of this year. We didn't really have a firm sort of well-being and a people plan in place, and I come from the world of slightly bigger corporates where that stuff's just bedded in on day one. So we're slowly bedding that in. You can't change a culture overnight, that becomes false. But we're working really hard to make sure that people can take a bit of time off and go and do something that's important to them, particularly if it's around sort of mental health, physical health, so fitness and well-being is important. I think you guys saw us come back from our Thursday run a few hours ago, looking pretty awful. But stuff like that's important to us. A bit of downtime is important. You can't look at lines of code for 10, 12, 14 hours a day. That just sort of breaks you. So you need to sort of break that up. And we've got plenty of chances to sort of have areas where people break out. The classic sort of games console and the pool table. But people still talk shop when they're there, because if you care what you're doing, taking some time out doesn't mean you just switch off. It just means you can just sort of take your foot off the gas a bit. And I think folk here understand that we hire people that are passionate about their roles, but you don't need to be chained to your desk to be doing good work and to be sort of progressing. So that's important. I think the other thing we'd expect folk to come in, you mentioned autonomy. So we set some pretty good, clear, top-level objectives, but we let folk decide how they want to hit those. So if they can solve a problem, that's great. We'll give them the problem, but we won't tell them how to solve it, and they will come back and often just surprise us with how to attack a hypothesis and fix it in a way that they want to do, and that makes them pretty engaged too, I think.
Thanks very much for your time, Pete. So if you're interested further to apply Carbon in the future, feel free to reach out on our website, ronaldjamesgroup.com/carbon, and you'll see more perks about the videos with Pete and the rest of the employees, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.